What's up, everyone? Welcome to my afternoon stream of the day, Friday afternoon, joined by Coach Noah Johnston. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great. Another Friday.
We're going to be talking about June 1 cuts today and some
Sure
DBs. But let's start with the June 1 cuts. This seems like there's going to be like a second wave of free agency more than usual this year in particular because the cap is down and everyone has to – there's like a technicality that I don't really feel like explaining, but just know that it exists. And June 1 is a magic day.
More or less, what it is when post June 1, it lets you extend the money out further. So like normally it would, if you cut them now, if you cut them pre June 1, it would hit your cap now this year. Where if post June 1, it gets strung out over the
2 years, right? 2 years, yeah. So that's why a lot of teams are going to do that. And there are some potential big names that could be available. We could go back and forth, but who are some June 1 cuts you think the Niners should be looking at? Potential ones.
I looked up. Apparently, there's already had been some designated by teams for them, like back in even February. So I think Malik Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, and Kyle Rudolph and Trey Boston were 4 names that I saw that teams had already designated for June 1 cuts. The 2 ones out of that group that I like that kind of stood out were Trey Boston and Kyle Rudolph, because I think the Niners could use another safety. I love Jimmy Ward and I love Jaquiski Tartt. I just don't trust them to play the entire year.
Yeah.
That's why I was looking for them to draft the safety, because I don't trust Travaris Moore either.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna need another safety that they can play. And Kyle Rudolph, it's a little intriguing because I know there's Dwelly, but and I'd like to see if Dwelly is what you think he is, the greatest tight end of all time. But if he's not, I would like to have another tight end. I know that's what they planned for Jordan Reed and all that, but another tight end you can use. It's cheaper than paying for a wide receiver.
Yeah, it seems like there's some other tight ends that could be cut as well. I mean, Zach Ertz, Cameron Brate, Eric Ebron. Now, none of these guys are really in Ross Dwelly's class, but it's always good to have a third tight end.
Yeah.
And if George Kittle goes down, then all of a sudden Dwelly's your number 1, and you need a number 2.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which one of those guys would Kyle might be interested in, right? Like, Ebron is the guy that's the physical freak out of them, but not the greatest blocker,
right?
The other guys are. I think
Cameron Brate's a lot like Ross Dwelly. When I first saw Ross Dwelly, I was like, he's kind of like Cameron Brate. So if they want to bring in Brate, Brate's really good, actually. I always thought Brate was really good.
Yeah, and yeah. You're probably bringing these guys on a deal where it's a 1-year deal. It's not if it's guaranteed, there'll be very little guaranteed. And you bring them in, and if Ross Dwelly's better, then you come and you let Ross Dwelly play, or you keep him on your roster, and like Ross Dwelly just gets all the PT. And if Ross is or George gets hurt, then you still have 2 viable tight ends.
What do you think, Sterling Shepard? You think he gets cut?
I think he's a candidate too. That's another one. There's going to be receivers out there that I think. I just mentioned Alshon Jeffrey, but. There's going to be receivers out there that Sterling Shepard. He's a possibility. I think there's another. The teams that if Green Bay happens to make that trade for Julio Jones, Marquez Valdez-Scantling might be a guy that they released to make cap room. There's I would. Sterling Shepard's intriguing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely intriguing. Yeah.
We mentioned some of the Eagles. The Falcons. I think Grady Grady Jarrett maybe might be a candidate, but I don't think they need to do anything on the defensive line aside from if there is an edge guy out there. But I don't see any.
About Landon Collins?
Landon Collins, no. He can't cover. He's just a backer. I mean, if you want to get if you it depends what do I have to pay him. If I can pay him and I'm like, hey Landon, you're gonna play weak side backer. Okay.
Yeah.
If I don't have to pay him a lot to do that, okay.
Yeah. All right, let's switch it up. What do you think some areas of the roster that the Niners should improve heading into camp? Because there's going to be a lot of people available after June 1. What should be there? What are the needs?
I think they need depth. I still would like corner depth and safety depth. I think. I know everyone's so keen on that third wide receiver, but I just don't. I don't see. I think there's plenty of guys that you can probably go to, and there's always guys in free agency. I just don't.
Richie James, Jawan Jennings, Travis Benjamin, lots of guys. Sanu.
Yeah, and the other thing about offensively, you can control what you want to do. I can put out whatever personnel I want to put out, but if you're a defense, if you're running a defense and an offense goes out and puts 5 wide receivers, like I can't go put 4 linebackers on the field. Like I have to respond to that.
Yeah.
So you have to have more flexibility on your defense. So that they need to have secondary players. The teams are more likely to put.
Otherwise, how do they match up with Arizona?
Yeah, exactly. Or any team. I mean,
yeah.
The thing about it, you tweeted this out a while ago, and I've talked about it as well. Is like all these guys on the secondary are good, but they all have injury history.
Yes.
So, and if we've learned nothing, it's that guys with injury history tend to get injured. So they have to address it. And I mean, unless you're planning on rolling out some of these rookies, which might be the case, and it might be all right. But you could have a game where both corners are out, or 3/4 of the secondary are out.
Right. Right.
That's been their history. So you need to protect yourself from that. So a guy I don't know that if Atlanta would save about $2 million-ish, and I don't know if they're done with him or not, is Isaiah Oliver. If they were done with him, he's kind of, I liked him coming out in
Colorado.
Yeah, he's played with Akilo.
That's right. He was the one that was good, better. We're going to talk about Akilo later. Hey, everyone, wait up. Akilo may put himself in the news. We're going to talk about him a little later. But okay, so I'm with you. The secondary in general, not just corner, safety also. But what about edge rush?
I would like another edge rusher if I could find one. I think the key with I always message my friends about this. Like, I don't know why the Niners are so keen on these like tweener edge rushers. Like, get a freaking edge guy, like default, like not injured D4, but a guy like D4, like a true edge. Like,
how about Justin Houston?
Yeah, bring him in. Like,
bring him in. Yeah,
bring him in. I think he's a great. He'd be a good candidate. Justin Houston's out there.
Vic Beasley used to be that kind of guy, but he's terrible, man. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, I have more trust in Justin Houston. Like, especially if you're a team that's out. If the Niners are planning on contending, like Justin Houston, like what you're gonna get. Like he's not at this point in his career. He's not a terrible athlete, but he's got enough experience where like you can put him out there and he's going to rush the passer. Not Khalil Mack, but he's not going to be. I don't know. He's going to be better than Deion Jordan.
Yeah. I don't see why they don't bring in Justin Houston. Well, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, what's I don't know what's the hold up. I mean, like
maybe Houston just doesn't want to sign until after training camp. Maybe he's one of those kind of vets who's like, you know what, I've done that. I'm good.
Maybe him and D4 don't get along. They're playing on the same team. I don't know.
Good point. He's better than D4. He could do a lot of what D4 did. Sign Justin Houston. What are you waiting for? All right, let's talk about Akelo. Akelo Witherspoon, I don't know the context. He told the media in Seattle that when healthy, best cornerback in the NFL. To which I would say, okay, great. When were you healthy in that case?
Yeah, right.
When was this period of time when you were the best corner? Is he talking like weeks 1 and 2 of 2019? 2 weeks? He played well weeks 1 and 2. He went against Jameis and Andy Dalton.
Where was this confidence when you were playing with the Niners? Like, because
that's the thing. Hold on, real quick. What I want to say is this is phony confidence. I've met Akello. I like Akello. He's a really nice guy. He's pumping himself up. He honestly doesn't believe this. He's one of the least confident cornerbacks I've ever met.
And we talked about that. We talked about what you need in the corner. Like, you gotta be that dude. Like, you gotta really believe that. Like, you have to truly believe that you are the best corner in the league. But it doesn't seem like he.
This is the guy like trying to talk the talk and like trying to like fake it until he makes it. You know what I mean? Like, if you ever like read those books about how to be a pickup artist, you know what I mean? Basically, all those books are basically do a lot of things to pretend that you have confidence. And maybe women will confuse that for actual confidence, and you'll have some positive experiences, and that'll lead to genuine confidence. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's kind of doing that. Like, I'm really good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm the best. Maybe he stands up at night in the mirror and just looks at himself and says, you're the best. You're a star. You're a star. You're a star. Like Dirk Diggler. You know what I mean?
Maybe he watches the Cohn show too much. He's like, oh, crap. I have to find confidence. Like, this is how I do it. This is gonna revive my career. Okay, I got it. Okay. Now he's the Seattle reporter that he's the greatest cornerback to ever play the game. He was just hurt.
Well, way to put a target on your back, buddy. Like, why do you do this to yourself, Akello?
Yeah, I mean, you think Kyle's going to be reading that quote before the Seattle game, and like,
the things that Kyle Shanahan has done to Kevin King throughout the years is going to be so brutal. He's going to go right after Akello Witherspoon the way that every team does. Oh God, Akello, you just need to stop.
I think you've talked about Kyle before. It's like and his ego. Like, Kyle is that dude where, like, if he's gonna I mean, I think all coaches are gonna exploit your weak point, but I think Kyle would like to make a point if right,
because what Akello is basically saying is the Niners didn't appreciate me. The Niners didn't appreciate me. They underrated me. I was way better. They made me look bad. Okay, Akello, let's see what happens when you face Brandon Ayuk this year.
Or
Tebow, or Kittle,
or maybe Kyle designs play to throw right at him and get him picked, so he could say, "Oh, see, I was right on that. I was right."
Should have kept him. Should have kept him.
I told John to resign him. I told him.
So I think some people were like listening to Akello say this and be like, "Man, this guy's delusional." And when I listened, what I heard, what I perceived when I saw the quote was, man, who is this guy kidding? I know Akello with this one. It's hilarious. You can say whatever you want to say, man, but you're still the least confident cornerback I've ever met. And that's the problem. If you actually had genuine confidence, he wouldn't say things like this. He wouldn't play the way he does. He wouldn't have like these ups and downs. So, hey, man, he's still super young. I think he's like 24.
He could revitalize his there. I mean, I wouldn't see him like all of a sudden becoming the best cornerback in the league, but he could suddenly transition to a solid starter, maybe.
I do feel like this is what Robert Saleh said to him. Like, I feel like he's repeating what coaches have told him. And Robert Saleh is a very like speak it into existence kind of guy. Like, I don't have to see it. If I believe it, I can manifest it. And great. I mean, if Robert Saleh says it to you, great. But you don't need to repeat that like that's your opinion of yourself, man. That's because now you're a punchline, man. So,
yeah, you gotta back that up. I mean, like, I saw somebody posted him getting tore. Like, it's you. If you're gonna put that out there, then you better be able to back it up.
Life lessons, Akello. All right, now we need to do realistic expectations. Coach is a DB specialist, and the Niners drafted 3. So let's give our realistic expectations for each one, starting with the gold helmet, the All-American USC strong safety, I spelled his name wrong, Talanoa Hufanga. As we talk about realistic expectations, maybe I should get his name right. Hold on. So what do you think? I think a lot of people are thinking this guy's going to be Troy Polamalu.
Yeah, I think to that you got to break out the old lowered expectations. Right.
Anyone who's younger than 25 has no idea what that is, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Was that Mad TV? No, it was Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it was Mad TV.
It was Mad TV. Mad TV. All right. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not Troy Polamalu. Like, don't compare him to that. I mean,
No.
it's
Troy Polamalu was a first-round pick. He was one of the most athletic guys in the league at all times.
he ran a 4.3. He was a 4.
Yeah.
He put on the tape of Troy Polamalu and then put on the tape of how do you say his name again?
Talanoa Hufanga.
Put on tape and tell me they're the same player. Watch them side. They are not the same player. Troy Polamalu is like one of those guys where it seems like it was like 14 of him on the field. Like there's 14 players on the field.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not the same guy. I mean, Hufanga, it's like it's more of a backer than he is. And the problem is that he doesn't have the linebacker body. I mean, he looks a little bigger on film, so I'm curious did he weigh more at one point in the season and then dropped it? But you're not gonna be able to play a backer in NFL at 199. You know, nowadays they go a little lighter. Like you probably got to be at least 215. And he doesn't move well enough to be a safety. I mean, there's been safeties in the NFL that run 4.6s and stuff like that, but they make up with it. They have acceleration. They have the hips and just him on film, he just doesn't even run like a DB to me.
Yeah.
Now
he's a small linebacker, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does have. He's got hand skills. Like he can. If you throw it at him, he'll pick it off. He's got ball skills. He's got a knack for making some of those plays, but he can't get ISO'd in coverage. Like especially, that's what I think he's going to do. Is they're going to convert him to the linebacker. He's going to play special teams, and that's not a problem because he's a 5th round pick. But I think fans keep throwing out this Polamalu expectation. Like, do not throw that name around with this guy. I mean, it's unfair to him and it's unfair to Polamalu. Frankly,
the guy I think of is Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. I think that's like a more realistic comparison. This guy was a safety at Arizona, and now he's a linebacker for the 49ers. He's 6'2", 210. And they've been working on him for a while. I mean, he's been a project of theirs for a couple of years. So maybe they could put Hufanga on special teams and slowly build him up to the point where he gets to be about 210 and see what he does at weak side linebacker like Flanagan Full. I think that's what the plan is.
Yeah, he tackles too low. I mean, too high too. I mean, I can see.
But they have experience. They've done this once before, taking a Pac-12 strong safety and making him an NFL linebacker. That could be the vision.
They've done it before with linebacker.
They've done it.
I mean, what's his name? Their best linebacker was a
safety. Warner.
In college. So like, it's not something new. I mean, Salah came from Jacksonville, where they took Telvin Smith, who was he was a safety at Florida State, and
they do this. They take college safeties and make them NFL linebackers. So I think that's the realistic expectation for Hufanga. You may not see him much on defense as a rookie because the vision may be put 10 pounds on him and make him a linebacker.
Right, and he's a 5th round pick. So if he doesn't turn out, it's not a big deal.
If he's just a special teams ace, then good. Good. Yeah. Okay, let's move along. Another 5th round pick, Diamador Lenore, went to Oregon. What do you think the locked up Austin Watkins one-on-one? Everyone's seen that clip. Just ruined Austin Watkins at the rookie minicamp. What do you think the realistic expectations for Lenore should be?
Backup, or not backup, but like 3rd nickel. I don't want to see him in there early. I mean, I think he's player that you're working on in practice. To hopefully your plan is to see what he's got next year and teach him. Ideally, you don't want him on the field this year, but I would say 3rd to 2nd nickel. I don't want him outside. Nickel. I mean, I think maybe you could train him at safety if you need to, but that's where I don't really want to see him on the field this year.
Jesse says Lenore special teams gunner and backup nickel.
Yeah.
Is he even fast enough to be a quality gunner? I mean, he could be. He's like a little bit more juice, right? I mean, you're like Mostert out there.
He could probably do it. I mean, if I'd have to see really his open field tackle. Because even if you don't have the speed, obviously the time like that does it is Mostert. He doesn't mind the physicality, right? Because if you're getting pressed up there and you gotta break the press and all that to get down there. So he could probably make up some of the lack of speed. But the other thing about the Gunners, you got to be an open field tackle.
Yeah. We did a breakdown of Lenore, and we noticed one thing: when he was facing like over routes, he would consistently get beat by those. He would give up a lot of separation, and he didn't have any like acceleration to close the gap. Yeah. So at the OTAs, I see him covering Debo. So he's getting reps with the starters outside, and Debo just dusts him on an over route. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that. Oh, it's like that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio, like, boom, right there. I seen that.
It's crazy, right? When you watch tape of players, all of a sudden, like, that doesn't change, right? They're the same guy, right? Like what you see is right?
Absolutely. I've had that same realization this week with Trey Lance. It's like I think me and I'm not a fan, but a lot of Niner fans had this fantasy that he was just going to hit the ground running, and everyone was wrong about his learning curve. Like, no, there's definitely a learning curve. It's all fixable, but like to see it in person, like the scouting report was correct. Those scouts know what they're talking about. Good job, scouts. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster.
Oh yeah.
The reason why he's still there. If
he definitely gives them the best chance to win this year. There's no question, and they're definitely in win now mode.
Yeah, things could change. I mean, it's one practice. Things could change in August, but like right now, like
right now,
Trey Lance is what he is.
And so is Deommodore Lenoir, to bring it full circle to our original topic. Don't expect this guy to be a starting outside corner at any point. He could be the heir apparent to K'Waun Williams, although it seems to me like really they drafted this guy because they let DJ Reed go. And I've seen DJ Reed a lot, and DJ Reed has a little bit more explosion and acceleration than this guy.
He's playing out. He's going to play, or I think he's looking to play outside corner for Seattle right now. So,
well, the best corner in the league is going to take a spot theoretically, but when that doesn't happen, then he's going to be the starting outside corner.
Right. Or I mean, imagine if Seattle had both like corners from the Niners starting, and imagine if their defense was actually good.
Yeah, they'd be real scary.
Yeah, with both Niners corners.
Okay, last DB that the Niners drafted. What are realistic expectations for Ambry Thomas? It seems like this is the one DB the Niners took where it's maybe fair to have lofty expectations or hopes.
Yeah, backup corner. I mean, I could see a world where like one of those guys gets hurt and you put Ambry in, and Ambry never gives the job back up.
Right.
Like, you see like a guy like obviously Verrett, but like Mosley. If Mosley was out for some reason, and then you got Verrett and Ambry, I mean, you could see Ambry balling out and not giving that job back because he's a more physically gifted player than Mosley.
Either. Mosley,
yeah. So if he got on the field, I don't think he played well. I think Mosley would have a hard time getting that job back. Now that would be a situation where maybe they would look to Mosley to play more of a slot. But Ambry is a guy that, like, out of all those guys, I could see him getting a lot of playing time, and certainly step in and be initially a backup.
I think there's a segment of 49er fans that are expecting or hoping that he will flat out outplay Emmanuel Mosley in camp and take that job by week 1. Is that a realistic expectation? He didn't play last year. Mosley's been around.
He could. I don't expect it. I just think I've discussed this before with the drafts. Like, everyone expects every draft pick to like be a starter or something. It doesn't work that way.
No. There's usually one or two.
Yeah, most drafts you get 1 or 2 starters, and that's like a good. If you get 2 starters, that's a good draft.
Yeah.
So, and not every guy is going to be a starter. You're looking for traits, and you're hoping that those guys will be starters, and in the meantime they can contribute.
I mean, most likely it's going to be Aaron Banks, and that's it this year. Most likely, that's the most realistic expectation. Sermon be number 2, Lance number 2, Thomas first guy off the bench. All of that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I do see potential in Ambry Thomas. I do think that like it's not out of the realm of possibility that if he could step in there and be a starter. I mean, it's happened before. I mean,
well, let's talk not just short term then. Then what do you think realistic expectations for Ambry Thomas are for the next 3-4 for his rookie contract, the next 4 years? Do you expect him to be a starter pretty sooner than later?
I think they're expecting him probably to be probably next year. They're probably expecting him to be a starter. But
considering Verrett could be gone, it could be him and Mosley.
Verrett could be gone, right? It could be him and Mosley. Verrett could be gone. Yeah, I mean, I think, and even then, you just need depth also at the corner spot anyway. So, I mean, you've talked about it before. Like that's a position that you should just constantly draft. And like draft fairly high, like because you typically don't find those guys. And
so they got a guy with high end traits after the 100th pick. It's interesting, but I'm like, is it really fair to say that this guy has potential to be a number one corner? Like he'd be definitely the exception. Being drafted that low.
Yeah, he would be the exception. He'd be the exception to the rule, but you see it like
it happens. It does.
You see it,
I'm surprised they got the traits that they got so late in the draft. I mean, wow, 4'3", 6 feet. Wow. Is it mostly because he opted out? I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't have to come in and be like Dion, right? Like
true.
If he came in and was like a solid starter he was a late 3rd round pick, right? If you got a solid starter at corner for a late 3rd round pick, that's a success. Like he doesn't have to walk in and be, a top 5 corner. If he's a solid starter, that's a good pick. To just be a solid NFL starter at in the
good point. Those are the realistic expectations, not the lowered expectations. If you don't know what that is, just Google it. Look on Twitter, not YouTube. Lowered expectations. I thought it was funny when I was a kid. I don't know if Gen Z kids will find it funny. They may not even get the concept because the whole idea is like where you would leave ads for yourself in the paper, like right, dating ads in the paper. What I like to do, long walks and stuff. People now it's the whole different. I don't know.
You know what? I was gonna tweet the other night because I was watching the Mavs game, right? And I'm looking at Rick Carlisle. I'm like, he looks like Fire Marshal Bill, like, and I don't know if people know who Fire Marshal Bill is. You know who Fire Marshal Bill is?
I don't think I know who Fire Marshal Bill is.
Oh my God. Fire Marshal Bill was on a Living Color.
Oh my God! See, that's a little before my time, man. That's a little before my time. That's like late '80s, early '90s. I would have to go. I definitely didn't live through that.
Early '90s. Man.
Early '90s. Yeah, I was 4. I was 5. But I missed it. But I remember Homie the Clown. Not that I remember it, but I've seen Homie the Clown. I've seen Homie the Clown. I've seen Damon Wayans live in San Francisco. He's a terrific stand-up comedian. He was probably in his 50s when he did it 4 or 5 years ago. I find Damon Wayans to be underrated. He's hilarious. Marlon and Sean are funny too. Scary Movie is a great movie. So is White Chicks. White Chicks is underrated. There's a lot of important social commentary in that movie.
I never saw White Chicks.
Oh, there's a lot of important social commentary in that movie.
Yeah.
You could teach that movie in a class. Anyway, we have a very important topic. To Julio or not to Julio? That is the question. I got to say, I love the name Julio. I've never typed it, said it, but since he's been in the news every day, it's Julio Day, and I love it. For that reason alone, I want the Niners to get him. But from your perspective, how prudent, how feasible, is it the right thing to do?
No.
Julio.
To not Julio.
To not Julio.
Yeah.
Dang.
They already don't have enough. They already are limited with draft capital as it is because of the Lance pick. I think you don't know what you have yet. I mean, with Lance, you don't know what. I mean, it's a really tough division. Like you don't really know where you're gonna sit. For me, if I'm the Niners, before I make any aggressive moves, I need to know where my quarterback is. Like you don't even know what you have in Jimmy, to be honest with you, because if let's just say even Jimmy plays well and week 2 he's out.
Yeah.
But Lance isn't ready. So Lance steps in there and he's not ready. And now your team is not in a winning position. Now you just gave up for like, you got to protect yourself in some.
Yeah, this whole win now window is a whole 100% dependent on Jimmy Garoppolo's durability.
Yeah, or that like Trey Lance comes in and
improves leaps and bounds in the next 3 months.
Yeah, becomes a great quarterback right off the bat. So,
right.
I don't think it's a prudent move. I would wait. I would do 2 things. One, I would wait. Okay, and if the Niners are in a move later in the season, make a move similar to like Emmanuel Sanders. All right, and then you can look and see out there who is not in a position, who's in sell mode. Like I said this before, but I would call up if Buffalo was like running that division in Miami, I'll call up the Patriots and be like, hey, you got a corner right out there that he's gonna walk next year. How about we trade you? I'll give you like a 3rd round pick for. Why am I drawing a blank here for who's their corner's name?
Who? Where? And Patriots? Gilmore.
Yeah, Gilmore.
Yep.
Like that guy's gonna walk, right? So Gilmore's up from free agency next year. If the Patriots aren't in a position to make the playoffs, like Bill's done it with guys when he's in position to make the playoffs. So
true.
Like that's a guy. Like imagine if the Niners are like rolling off. Let's just say they're steamrolling. Like you guys did your schedule, or whatever, and Jack has them going like undefeated, right? Right, and
16-1, 16-1.
Yeah. So let's say they're doing really well, and you can call it the Patriots and get Stephon Gilmore. Now put Stephon Gilmore with Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Mosley, Ambry Thomas. Like I'd much rather have Stephon Gilmore than Julio Jones, to be honest with you.
Makes sense. It's more of a need, and they're honestly Gilmore's every bit the corner that Julio is the wide receiver, right? They're both the best.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: I mean, as far as people are, I think Julio and Stephon Gilmore are both professionals.
True.
I've seen video with Stephon. I mean, Stephon looks like a guy that you want in your locker room. He's a very intelligent player. He's a guy that looks like, if you have young guys like Lenore and Ambry Thomas, you'd want them to learn from a guy like Stephon Gilmore.
Also, a combo of him and Verrett, pretty dirty. You could go very far with that.
But that's the type of move that I would look to do, and I would wait until I know what my team's doing and what it looks like. I mean, what if Broncos, like the Broncos are stinking it up? Like, will you give me Von Miller? Can I get Von Miller?
How about Von Miller? Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe not Julio, but maybe they should Gilmore. To Gilmore, yes. To Julio, no.
Yeah, I like Julio. No, I just think wide receiver. It's not really a need for them. Like it's
true.
Wide receivers is the flashy thing. Wide receivers are like cars, right? It's a, like depreciating asset. Like it's nice. Mm-hmm. If you have funds and you're looking to invest in something. Like a car is not a great thing to invest in. Like, don't go buy a Mercedes.
No, like the Julio at this point would be like getting like a Rolex with a bunch of diamonds on it. It's like, yeah, that Rolex is $250,000, but I think that's a bad investment. Let me just tell you, man, I think it's a bad investment.
Yeah, there's other things out there that are better investments. Like that's what.
But it looks nice on your hand. It definitely looks great in your wrist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corner, defensive pass rusher. Those are the things that I would look to invest in.
Right.
They've done a pretty solid job investing.
That's like real estate right there. That's value that can go up. Yeah.
Yeah. They've done a good job investing in their offensive line, I think. That's another thing. Let's say they're in win now mode. They're doing really well. They get an injury on the offensive line.
How's your win now mode going? Yeah.
Yeah, that's especially if Trey Lance is. I mean, it doesn't matter if Trey Lance or Jimmy's in there, right? Because you want to. Jimmy needs protection too because he's injury prone. So like, if you get an injury on the offensive line and you're doing well, like you might need to make one of those moves to protect your quarterback in your season because the offensive line is important. So yeah, and Julio's not going to help with that.
No. Benjamin Albright said he heard Julio may be getting moved for a second day 3 picking a player. I don't understand why people give Benjamin Albright the time of day, man. He heard. All right, man, we'll see if he goes for a second a day 3 picking a player, man. All right, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah,
Benjamin Albright heard.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't matter to me honestly what Julio goes for because it's relative to the Niners situation. The Niners need what they have right now. They need it for the future. Like so, they have to be really prudent about when they use that draft capital, right?
Yes.
So they can't just go out and get, especially when wide receivers. It's not huge. It's just not a huge need. I mean, it's if they didn't have Debo and they didn't have George Kittle and they didn't have Brandon Ayuk, I would be more open to this. But they have weapons, right? They like would the offense be awesome if Julio Jones was there? But
yes, but only if the offensive line stays intact and Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't get hurt. And there's a lot of it's like this whole win now window could just shut very quickly. Wow. And then Julio Jones doesn't really. Now he doesn't matter. Now you have problems that he can't fix.
There's another aspect to this third wide receiver thing. It's like, okay, let's analyze. Okay, what we have at the quarterbacks. Okay, so we have Jimmy Garoppolo, we have and Trey Young, right? I mean not Trey Young, but basketball's on the line. Trey Lance, and so you have Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not a great processor, and you have Trey Lance. Okay, so now you're talking about putting all these weapons in on the field at the same time. Like Jimmy can't even get to the second receiver sometimes. You're expecting him to find the like, yeah, you might have an open guy, but is Jimmy going to see him? Like,
true.
You could have IU, Kittle, and
all of it,
Debo, all on the field, and 2 of those guys might be wide open, but Jimmy might be throwing to Debo,
Mostert in the flat.
Yeah, and in the flat, and then you got your rookie quarterback. He's just learning the system right now. Like, yeah, we seen in college, he's a pretty good decision maker, but he's going to take time. It's going to take time learning the offense and all of that. So
refining his mechanics and all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he might not even find So I just don't think weapons out there right now is a great idea. Like it's great for Tom Brady because Tom Brady will find those guys, right?
Good point.
Like a guy like Matt Ryan will find those guys. He can process, and Trey Lance might be able to do it late this season, mid-season, and next year. But like right away, I wouldn't necessarily count on it.
Yeah,
and so like that's why I just don't. I think they should be a little bit measured in this move, and just because, and just also that they have the quarterback and they don't have their first round picks. I think you do have to protect yourself in the sense that, like, if I'm the Niners organization, I'm thinking just in case, like, I know we made this big move and we expect Trey Lance to be good, but what's the scenario if he's not, and how can I protect myself if he's not? Like, I have to have ammunition or things in the barrel that if Trey isn't what Trey is, then or what we expect he is, that I can recover from it, if at all possible. Like, so. I might, if let's just say Trey this year stinks it up and then next year stinks it up too. I mean, I may be fired, but you might need to use a second round pick on another quarterback. You might need to package some of those picks to go get a veteran if Trey doesn't seem what he is. So that's my take on it, anyways.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, they don't really need him, and bringing him in really ups the ante for a win now campaign that may not be that realistic. I mean, you just pointed out 3 different ways that it could all fall apart easily. Quarterback, the offensive line, the secondary, it's all very thin. It's a good point. Guys, think about that. We laid it out. We've given the pros, cons. That's what quality control does.
Coach. Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day too. It's that because I know that you're talking about in the past, you talked about drafting a quarterback every year, and why not just do that and start doing that now, and that way Trey Lance can't get mad like at pulling Aaron Rodgers because you can just be like, hey, that's just what we do. Like
we do it every year. Yeah,
we draft a quarterback every year. It's not anything. It's not a danger to you or whatever.
Yeah,
that's we're the Niners. We draft a quarterback every year, and that's what we do. Like
it'd be smart. It would be smart. Yeah.
Right, and then you're also protecting yourself like from if you draft a quarterback every year, like you increase your chance of maybe you hit on one.
Getting one eventually. Hitting on one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Well, that's another free suggestion. You owe us a nickel, 49ers. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching today. Thank you, Coach. This was a good show. I appreciate it. See, we're much more versatile than just film breakdowns. We can do it all.
Yeah. Well, one more thing. I have a question to ask you.
Sure.
Yeah. So I saw you've been watching some NBA playoffs a little bit.
Yes.
If you could take one player from the NBA and convert him to a position in the NFL, what player and what position?
Oh man. One player in the NBA can. Oh man. I feel like you could almost take most of the NBA players, right?
Yeah,
like most of them would be just phenomenal in the NBA, right? I mean, even guys you think of that aren't that athletic in it by NBA terms, like Steph Curry. He's 6'3". I mean, he'd be amazing. I don't know. Who do you think? Give me a name.
I always felt like I watched Russell Westbrook out there, and he's guys that's all over the field. I would love to plop him at free safety, and because I feel like he'll be all over the place. Like he'd be that guy where you could throw a ball on the left hash, and all of a sudden he'd be over there, right? And you just
can you imagine Giannis Antetokounmpo at tight end or pass rusher? It's like ridiculous.
Zion, right?
Zion. Yeah.
LSU gave Zion a football offer, a scholarship offer with him. He never played football in his life, and they were just like, yeah, well, you can come here and play. Like, yeah.
Of course, LeBron could have done it, but he's a little old now. But LeBron at tight end would have been crazy.
Maybe everybody's playing tight end now. Maybe LeBron will come. Maybe after he's done playing.
Maybe he's not too old. Yeah, maybe why not? Yeah.
Maybe he'll just come play tight end.
Yeah. I mean, anyone else? I mean, not Jokic. I don't think Jokic could really play in the NFL. Maybe he could be a tackle.
He probably would be like it. He probably would be like a tackle. Yeah, not.
I don't think Anthony Davis would like it. I think he would. I don't think he'd want to play the sport.
No. Anthony Davis would not be interested in football at all. No. I think. Didn't they say? I was watching the cast last night. That's guarding LeBron.
Draymond did play football at Michigan State. I don't know if he was any good at it. He did play football at Michigan State.
Did he?
Yes.
I mean, he passes the ball. I mean, like he obviously has vision, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I know that kid, the kid that came out from Gonzaga was a high school quarterback.
Ja Morant would be a phenomenal wide receiver. That guy has a crazy athleticism and body control. Ja Morant. I like watching. I haven't really seen him play much until these. I don't watch regular season Memphis Grizzlies, but I always heard he was good. Yeah.
Plus, and plus he has that's a really nice name, right? Ja Morant.
Was he named after Ja Rule? In which case, nice. That's raw. That's raw.
Named after Ja Rule, huh? That's what
I know someone on my wife's side of the family, like her cousin's husband's brother has a son named Jewels. Jewels, named after Joel Santana. He's about 15. You don't know about who Jewels is? I thought you're from the East Coast. He was in Dipset. You know Jewels?
I know Joel Santana. Come on.
Okay, all right. Cool. Yeah, they named him Jewels. Name is Jewels. That's a great name for a kid, Jewels.
Yeah, how about the recruit? I mean, he's not basketball, but the recruit for LSU, DeColdest Crawford. You know him?
DeColdest. Oh, what a great name. All right, man. I got to end the show for today. I got to go do some laundry. Thank you for for coming on. And that was a cool discussion about the NBA playoffs. I even think Trae Young could do something in the NFL. All those NBA players are the best athletes in the world. Got to be.
Yeah,
he's in the country. As a coach, do you watch basketball and be like, man, if only some of these athletes had come? Or were you like watching high school basketball? Like, man, if they would just give it a shot.
High school basketball, like, I'm pretty sure every high school coach has a story. It's like you're watching a high school basketball, you see these guys, and you talk to them all the time. You're like, dude, you're 6'.
Come on.
And you play forward. Yeah. You're not going.
Yeah.
You're not getting Division I offers for high school basketball.
Come play tight end. Yeah.
Come play wide receiver, or play. Yeah, I'll give you. I guess I'll give you a little story. I coached in high school in Connecticut, and there was a kid. He came out for like 1 year for the school. He was about like he was big. He was 6'4", and he had no interest in football, but he played basketball. He ended up playing at Yale, and was pretty good at Yale. But he would have been phenomenal at defensive end or tight end, or like it was. Yeah, there's tons of that. Like, talk to high school coach. There's tons of that. You're always looking at basketball.
Antonio Gates was the original.
Yeah. Yep.
The basketball player turned tight end. Tony Gonzalez.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
There's so much. The athletes in basketball, like you just drool over some of the athleticism there, and you love to.
Yeah.
I do think there's only one thing. I do think that they don't necessarily have some of the straight line speed, not all the time. Like, because in the NBA sometimes it's more it's acceleration and vertical.
Stopping and starting. Yeah.
Good vertical, point. But I mean, they're phenomenal athletes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show, everyone. We'll be back same time, same place next week. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Have a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day. Yeah, Memorial Day. Yeah, enjoy that. Get outside.